So if you're like me, you're living in the Northern Hemisphere, and maybe you had a very long and painful winter. It was the case here in Toronto. So now that the summer is coming, I'm getting out of hibernation. And can tell you that in Toronto, the summer, or at least the nice weather, didn't arrive a day too early. And I would rather say that it arrived a full month too late. And as it came back, I also came back to life. Not that I was dead exactly, but more like in a prolonged state of hibernation that could almost look like a coma because the winter was particularly brutal. And every year I forget about it. Every year May arrives, and suddenly I remember that I am, in fact, a solar powered human being. And with the sun comes the avalanche of tennis invitations, patio, dinner, long walks, cottage weekends, travel plans, festivals, randoms, let's grab a drink, texts from people who have disappeared in November along with the vitamin D. So it's absolutely wonderful. You know, like Toronto in the summer is one of a great city because we are so much deprived of sun and heat, and everybody becomes attractive, athletic, social, and deeply committed to making the most of it. This year, though, I decided to approach the season a little differently. More intentionally, more purposefully, more consciously, more strategically, if you like that type of lingo, but pick the wording that aligns the best with your life philosophy. At the end of the day, it's the same thing. Because I realize that every summer, it can really easily become a blur of socializing and movement without necessarily creating meaningful progress in the areas that matter the most to us. Is it fun? Absolutely. Is it fulfilling? But not always, So I ask myself very simple questions. By the time fall arrives, what would I like to have actually nourished? And three areas really jumped at me right away. First is fitness. And you might see that I'm wearing my tennis outfit because I'm just coming back from a game. Spanish is the second area. And third is art. And, as luck would have it maps perfectly into the body, mind, soul, or spirit framework. Is it a sign? I don't know. Maybe it's just a sign that I'm watching too many podcasts. Anyway, the balance felt right for me. So first, fitness, really about, like feeding the body. So playing tennis in the summer is absolutely one of my great pleasures in life. Like being outside under the sun, moving, laughing, competing a little or a lot, depending who you're playing with, improving slowly but surely. That's really my definition of a great time. I am very much an outdoor tennis player, which obviously in Ontario means that my athletic career has a very short lifespan. Think a tomato plant type of lifespan. So we have a few glorious months, and then you're back indoors where everyone has emotional damage from the fluorescent lightning. So the summer, however, this year, I decided to think beyond just tennis and adopt more a 360 fitness approach. And what I mean by that is, like walking, which I do usually anyway, but also weight training, stretching, massage, supplements, detox, nutrition. So really this idea that even on days where I'm not playing tennis, I can still do something that improves my overall physical condition. So you see, that's my nice shake with all my vitamins, detox, whatever. So I did play tennis, but I'm also doing other things. So the goal for me is not simply to play more tennis. The goal is become, stronger, healthier, more energetic human being who also happens to play tennis. It's a bit subtle, but it's an important distinction. And I mean, stretching before and after tennis is also becoming less and less optional, let's put it that way. And so I definitely needed to include that in my overall program of fitness. The second thing is Spanish. So really this idea of feeding the mind purposefully as well. So I never studied Spanish at school. I'm from France. I studied German because I come from the north of France, so it made sense. A lot of people were studying German, and it was good in terms of geography, but also in terms of economic standpoint. It was a very strong economy at the time, still is actually. But I've always loved the Spanish culture. I love the warmth, the rhythm, the expressiveness of the language, the music, the energy, all this great stuff. And because Spanish and French are close cousins linguistically, I figured I already had a slight advantage compared to German, actually. So during the pandemic, I spent some time exploring the basics. Like many people during COVID, I briefly became the type of person who said things like, this is actually a great opportunity to reinvent myself. And naturally, after learning approximately 11 verbs and buying several workbooks, I moved on to other existential distractions. But this summer, I am back. And and it is very accessible, like to do self-learning. I borrowed audiobooks for free from the Toronto Public Library. Some of them are actually very funny because they're extremely outdated. So you have references to fax machines, traveler checks, coins for payphone. So it feels really 1994, but it's very, it's fun. It's Back to the Future. And I still use the grammar books that I bought years ago because, apparently I am incapable of throwing away anything, especially when it comes to educational material linked with abandoned ambition. So thankfully, this time at least they're getting a second life. So now, if you happen to see a tall woman speed walking through Toronto, carrying hand weights while aggressively speaking Spanish to herself, there is a great chance you found me. So you might wonder, why Spanish? Are you planning a sabbatical or at least a vacation in Spain, Colombia, or Costa Rica? Absolutely not. I'm going to Portugal this summer. So here you go. It has nothing to do with that, but I'm still learning the basic of traveling. And the last thing is the art, and it's really this idea of feeding the soul. So I mentioned that in the past, and one thing I have learned over the years is that the art world appears vastly more intimidating from the outside that it is actually from the inside. So we often imagine this ultra exclusive ecosystem that is populated entirely with billionaires that are collecting and that are wearing architectural black clothing while discussing conceptual lighting installations over champagne. And yes, these people do exist, but what surprised me the most is actually how accessible and welcoming the art world can actually be. You have free museum days, you have gallery openings that are free as well, you have artist talks that very often are free or very cheap. You have public installations, you have festivals. So you can genuinely build an artistic education, but also meaningful relationships, real friendship, without spending much money at all. You don't have to be an art collector, whatever that means anyway. So some of the most interesting conversation I've had over the years, happened in these events, and not pretending for a moment that I understood what was happening around me, because most of the time I don't. But having really honest and candid conversations on what we were thinking about the work, or just exchanging about our different artistic endeavor. I also love actually learning through podcasts, YouTube interviews, documentaries, library books. Again, all of that is free. So what's important also to understand is that art becomes much more interesting once you start understanding, the stories, the philosophies, the psychology, the social context behind the work. And so this summer, I really plan to fully leverage my memberships at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Toronto, the Art Gallery of Ontario, the Aga Khan Museum, because all of them organize really incredible events throughout the summer, performances, openings, talks, private tours, special programming. So you have a very good return on your membership if you're actively engaging in the activity. But I will also talk about a small group trip to explore the art scene in Detroit, which actually I just came back 2 days ago. And Detroit really has this fascinating mix of industrial history, architecture, reinvention, grit, creativity, and it produced like an amazing artistic ecosystem. So I'll speak about that probably next week, actually, because it was a mind-blowing trip. If you're close to Detroit, or if you're going to Detroit, so much to see. So, like there is this interesting thing to look at summer as a strategic asset. And I think for me, it was really this idea of using the season differently, because in the winter I survive and in the summer I expand. So my energy is naturally higher, my motivation increases dramatically, my curiosity returns. I want to move more, learn more, experience more, connect more. So instead of really letting the season disappear into randomness, I really want to channel that energy into a few meaningful areas, not in this hyper optimized rise and grind kind of way. Absolutely not. I refuse to be the person posting 5 a.m. ice bath content on LinkedIn or whatever. But simply in a way more like in September, I can look back and genuinely feel that, I fed my body, my mind, my soul well this summer, not just going from patio to patio, which is fun as well, but as a more limited value and also shelf life. But at the same time, I'm absolutely not saying that I will not balance all my activities with a few patios, because I will. So what's your plan? What about you? Do you also tend to feel more alive during the nicer months? Are these areas of your life you would like to intentionally develop this summer, learn a language, get stronger, read more, explore a creative side, meet new people, reconnect with yourself, maybe? So there are a lot of activities that can be done in the summer when we're all more motivated, let's put it that way. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you in the fall and to hear what you've been up to. If you like that video, please like and subscribe so you will receive more update every week. Thank you so much for being here with me, and wishing you a wonderful summer. Yeah, bye-bye.